Well, I just want to start off. What do you think? Obviously, you're excited to get into the Spot Bitcoin ETF business, but what do you think this means for Bitcoin specifically going forward? Arjun just mentioned he's at a big cryptocurrency conference over in Europe. People believe it's going to hit new all-time highs this year on the back of this new ETF.
I think this is probably the most important moment in Bitcoin's history, or at least in the last 10 years. It's a huge unlock for access to the space. We think it's an incredibly important moment.
So according to a survey that your company recently did, about 88% of portfolio managers, they've been waiting for an opportunity to add Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and they say an ETF is that opportunity. So once this, now that it's approved and once it starts trading, what kind of adoption are you expecting on the portfolio manager side? Do you believe it's going to be like a certain allocation of a portfolio? What are you hearing?
Yeah, we're hearing huge demand. So at Bitwise, we're launching BITB, the lowest cost Bitcoin ETF in America. And as you said, what we've heard from clients, 88% of advisors said they wanted to wait for an ETF to be approved to allocate to that space. That moment's arrived. We've heard demand, a huge amount of demand from our client base. We serve tens of thousands of investors across the country. And how they will incorporate it will be different across different investors. Generally, what we see is a 1 to 5% allocation in portfolios where the volatility but low correlations of Bitcoin can be really additive to the overall picture. And I think that's key. I think sometimes people think that investing in Bitcoin and the volatility that comes with that is a risky bet. But what most investors are doing is sizing it in a way that it's beneficial to the overall portfolio. They're not putting all of their money in Bitcoin. And the ETFs, BITB, make that straightforward and impossible today.
So you mentioned people that think that crypto and Bitcoin is a risky bet. I mean, people at the SEC seem to be among those people not that long ago. In your mind, what changed to allow for the approval of these Bitcoin ETFs?
So the first filing for a Bitcoin ETF was 10 years ago, which is hard to imagine. And we've been working on it for about 6 years. Bitwise as a firm is a crypto specialist and has been in the space managing over $1 billion for clients for 7 years now. I think that the market has matured a long way. So the SEC over the years has wanted to know if there's regulated qualified custody that can securely hold these assets. They've wanted to know that there's enough market maturity and liquidity, and they've had concerns about, is there a risk of manipulation? And in the order that they issued last night approving Bitcoin ETFs, allowing Bitcoin ETFs to be introduced to the market, they expressed that they're comfortable with all of those elements. And so I think that's a really watershed moment for investors to see that analysis from the SEC.
So in your mind, now that you're going to be able to buy a spot Bitcoin ETF, how's that going to impact interest in the underlying asset, Bitcoin itself and other cryptocurrencies?
I think it's a huge catalyst. You know, if you look at the history of gold, after the dollar came off of the gold peg in the 70s, gold was still around and it traded around. But it was really in 2003 when gold got its first ETF that the market expanded and gold went on a 10-year bull market. And so I think with the Bitcoin ETFs, finally there's a way for busy investors, for professional investors to access this opportunity. And that will mean adoption through the ETF, but it will also grow the overall market with investors buying Bitcoin directly as well.